Okay. So once again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar this morning. Today we'll be talking about targeting and reaching key landowner audiences. I'm very excited to bring this content to you. My name is Jeff. I'm the lead account executive here at Acre Value. Like I said, today we're going to be discussing reaching out to landowner audiences. And so really, I think the outline that we're going to be following today starts with searching for folks who are maybe closest to you. We'll start by identifying the landowners who are nearby to either yourself or to a property of interest that you have in mind. And we'll take a look at some of the tools that Acre Value has for that function. After we identify some of the landowners who are the closest, next we can talk about filtering those landowners down a little bit to fit your preferred audience. Maybe that means something like filtering by land use type to make sure you're targeting folks who, have cropland, forest, recreation, that sort of thing. And we'll also talk about saving your searches so that you can revisit your search later. Once you identify those landowners who are going to be the best fit for you, then we'll talk a little bit about how to contact them and what information you can find using Acre Value, such as a mailing address, maybe a phone number or an email. And we'll talk about tools that can help expedite that outreach process. And at the end, we will also talk about Acre Value's custom data services. This is a service that Acre Value offers that also makes outreach very easy, and a lot of other professionals rely on us for that service. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the live demonstration here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip back over to the Acre Value website to start with. So for the folks who are seeing this for the first time, Acre Value has a map-based functionality. And so what that means is on the map, we are able to see all of the different parcels that are currently owned. So this information comes from county sources locally. And we're able to see not only the properties themselves and the property boundaries, but we're also able to see who owns it according to those tax records. And so the first question that we want to answer is who owns the properties maybe that are nearest to me, right? And so we do have a few tools on Acre Value to make that possible. Let's say this is my property of interest right here, this 40-acre property here. And so what I'm going to do is to figure out who owns property nearby to me, I can start by restricting my search to just the areas that are closest to me. And there's a few ways to do that. So currently I'm in Cumberland County. So what I can do here with an Acre Value subscription is come up to the top here and we'll type in Illinois, which is the state that I'm in, and we'll type in Cumberland County, which is the county that I'm in. And so once I do those things, we'll see that all of the properties that I'm looking at are going to shrink from, nationwide or even all of Illinois down to just Cumberland County. Furthermore, I can then even search further into the county by saying more options up here. And this is where a lot of the magic happens, right? So this we can start to say, I want to search for people who are just within this particular township. This township is Union Township, for example. So once I apply that filter, if I zoom out, we'll be able to see that instead of searching at the entire county level, now we're just searching for this township here. Here's my subject property right here. And we're just looking at folks who are within the township. These are all of the properties that are here. There's a lot. There's, over 1,000 properties that are just in the township alone, right? And so that's quite a few. If we want to, we can start to see some of the landowners who are here by opening up this list view. And that's going to allow us to get a list of all of the landowners who are here according to the properties that they own. So you can see each of the landowners being listed here, as well as each of the properties and those property information as well. Now, we did talk about the fact that this is, over 1,000 results, right? That's quite a few. And so what we want to do potentially in this case is to maybe cut that down a little bit further. A really common way for folks to do that is to maybe instead of searching by township, maybe we can do is to search by radius. And so I'm going to clear out my township filter, and we can go back into the more filters option. And we can select the filter here for filter by radius. And so that allows us to essentially say, once I click it, I can draw a circle around my subject property, and just the properties that are within that circle are going to be the ones that show up. This is especially helpful for folks like, if you're an operator or a farmer on a property and you're looking for other farm ground to add to your farming portfolio and your operation, you want to be constrained within a certain distance. It makes a lot of sense so that you don't have to drive too far with equipment if you've got that. And it's just a lot easier to operate if it's nearby, right? And so to the extent that we can help you find the properties that are closest to you, I think that's something that we'd like to do. And you can certainly do that using acre value. You have the option to change this radius, as well as to, of course, maybe change the location of the center as well. So if you need to, you can then change the radius size, redo your search, and that's going to shrink our search down further into just this 3-mile section. Notice now that with this 3-mile radius, we can see that our number of parcels has dropped down under 1,000. That's great. That's still a lot of people to reach out to, 728, but we now know that at least those people are within 3 miles of my subject property. And so if we're talking about who is nearby to me, that'll be the easiest way to get to that point. You can also do this for properties that are maybe not your own property, but let's say, for example, you're a realtor and you are trying to advertise a listing to folks who are nearby to your listed property. You can certainly drop this radius point right on top of that listed property, run the search, and then find all of the landowners who are within 3 miles, 5 miles, whatever that might be, to let them know that there's a property for sale and try and generate some interest that way. Of course, to see all of the landowners here, you can hover over each of the cards to see the owner name. I always find it helpful, again, to move over to the list view. That'll allow you to load in some of the landowners here, so that way you can see their name as well as their contact info by selecting this column dropdown. And you'll be able to see the owner name and the owner mailing address right there. So this is, again, all coming from the public record, the properties themselves, as well as who owns and how to get in touch with the owner. Now, one thing that we are looking at is we are looking at over 500 to 700 parcels still, even with my 3-mile search radius. And so the next thing that we'd want to do is to understand that maybe not all of these landowners here are valid for my search. It's certainly likely that, some of them are not going to own the types of ground that I'm looking for. Maybe it's certainly likely that they're not the landowners to advertise to from the side of a realtor or a developer, perhaps. And so the next thing that we want to do is we want to filter these landowners down further to make sure that you're targeting the right types of landowners within this radius. And so to do that, what I would recommend is let's again go back to our more filters section. And this is going to allow us to start filtering by things like soil types. If you're a farmer and you want to look for prime farm ground and you're looking for PI, that's something that you can certainly search for. For this example, I think what I'll do is I will run a search for 30-acre properties, right? We want to find properties that are fairly large and contiguous. And you can also search for land use. And let's say cropland, right? So I'm looking for tillable cropland, for example, and I'm looking for the landowners of properties of tillable cropland. You can say as well, I want the property to be at least a certain percentage of cropland, right? I mean, there's certainly properties that are going to be 30 acres, but half of it is forest. Maybe we want to eliminate those types of properties. And so maybe in this case, we can say, I want at least 20 contiguous acres of cropland. And so when we run this search, what we should see is that most of these properties that are displayed on my search radius here, they'll probably drop away. Yeah, that makes sense. This is a fairly forested area, just according to the satellite view. And so to find 20 contiguous acres of cropland and 30-acre parcels at least is going to be, it's going to allow us to cut out a lot of the options that are here. And so now we can flip back to the list again, and we're able to see, the 150 or so parcels and their owners who might be the prime targets to look at in terms of sending a postcard or something like that, maybe sending a mailer, so that way you can let them know that there is a listing here. Or perhaps if you're the owner, let them know that you're interested in purchasing their properties. There are other filter options as well. And so depending on your use case, it might make sense to filter for things like energy, right? If you're an energy developer, you want to filter for properties that are within a certain distance to a substation to minimize that cost of development. We will give you the tools to be able to do that, so whether that be substation or transmission line, you can queue up that search, and that'll allow you to say, I want to find all properties that are within, maybe a mile or 2 miles of a substation or a transmission line. So there's quite a few filters here. I would again recommend for folks who are curious about them, either pick up a subscription and give it a shot, or reach out to myself and take a look at how you can, or we can certainly work together on how you want to reach out to the landowners in your area, and we'll find a good strategy and pathway forward that makes sense for you. There's also things like soils here as well. If you wanted to search by owner presence, so let's say in-state versus absentee landowners, that's another pretty common search filter for realtors who are trying to target folks who, maybe are, maybe the grandparents own it, but the grandparents have moved on. The farm got passed down to the kids. Maybe the grandparents still own it, but they're down in Florida. Perhaps they might be a little bit more willing to consider selling the property or something like that. So you have the option to then search for out-of-state only landowners and then run that search again as well. And so if we do that, let's see what comes back up, and we'll see how many out-of-state landowners there are. Perfect, there's 18. This is certainly a subset of landowners who, as a realtor or as a landowner, maybe these are the folks that you reach out to first and say, hey, these are the folks that I'm trying to target. I'd like to get in touch with you. Let's see if we can do business. Once you have more or less gotten to the search that you would like, and you want to be able to replicate this for later, or maybe there's just a lot of data here and you're not going to be able to get through it in one sitting, there is a new feature on Acre Value, which lives in this More Filters section, that allows you to save your filters. And so this allows you to, once you have applied the filters and you run the search, you'll essentially be allowed to revisit that filter later on. It gets saved to your account. And so that way, if you do need to revisit this specific search, you don't have to queue up all of the filters again like I have done. You can just save your current filter, put on a name, so test filter, and then we're looking at 20-acre cropland in Illinois. And so once you hit submit, that'll save. And then if you want to take a look at your presets for later, this will be your filters that you've already saved. You can view and run this preset filter just by running it and selecting it from this dropdown. If you like to, you can also view all of your saved filters from before and take a look at all of the different filter options that you've saved on them very quickly just by running to the saved filters page, which is in your profile here, and this will allow you to view all of the different filters that you've saved before. Now, once I have identified the properties that I am very curious about, I guess the next question, after we've saved my filters, after I've identified the property owners, now I have some time to actually get in touch with these people. And so how do I do that on Acre Value? Well, number one, we have established that we know that the current owner's name, as well as the owner registered address at the tax office, is available on Acre Value. And so that's, again, the information on Acre Value is coming from those public sources. If you would want to send a postcard, you can certainly send this address a postcard. That's certainly very handy to do. If your strategy for getting in touch with the landowner is a little bit more, let's say, digital, like phone numbers and email addresses, you can also certainly try and search for the owner's digital contact information based on the national database of skip tracing that we tie it into. And so that's this magnifying glass icon right here. And so once you run the search, if there is a hit in the system, we'll be able to see who is the landowner, and it returns age, any sort of possible phone numbers associated with them, potential emails, and then also any alternate addresses that you'd like to search. So just note these searches are 12 cents each. There's a way to purchase credits essentially. And so if you do run out of credits, you can see I have a whole bunch up here. If you do run out of more, you can just run another search and the system will automatically prompt you to buy more credits. And they're sold in packs of basically $12. And so once you get to this stage again, where maybe you've got a handful of landowners who would be the ones who you want to reach out to, again, just go ahead and reach out to them with a postcard to their tax address, or if you want to try and get in touch with them via phone or email, you have the option to search for them through this as well. And finally, for the folks who are a little bit more interested in larger landowner marketing activities, right? So, for example, searching for landowners across maybe multiple counties, or maybe you're a realtor and you want to be able to send out lots of mailers to a certain area. What I would recommend is get in touch with us via either email, or I'll put my contact information up here as well at the end of the call. We also have a service here at Acre Value where we can put together different marketing lists for you. These are lists where we've already done the process of grabbing all of the landowner names as well as their addresses. If you'd like to include things like the phone numbers and the contact information, you can certainly include those later on as well. And we'll also tell you more about their property's land holdings, such as, how many acres do they hold in total? Of those acres, how many of them are used for, cropland? How many of them are used for forestry and timber activities, pasture, so on and so forth. And the beauty of these lists is that, number one, you are able to filter them and customize them similar to what I've shown you on the website. We do have some predefined criteria that you can search by. Number two, we will do all of the work of putting the list together for you. And so when it comes to the time saved, this is definitely no comparison going to be the fastest way. Essentially, the process becomes, let us know what list you want. I'll work with you, or one of my team will work with you to decide or figure out which list you are most curious about and how to set that up. And then our data team will go ahead and pull that list for you. These are an additional charge, so just keep that in mind, of course, but it's certainly worth a conversation, at least in terms of if you are marketing to a good amount of people and you are marketing to maybe folks who are a little bit more advanced, or looking for a little bit more specific of a search criteria, reach out to us. We'll figure out a way to make sure that the time saved is certainly going to be cost effective and beneficial for your operation as well. And so now, with all of that said, I think the question that needs to be answered here is, how do I get started with some of these features, right? If you are curious about getting rolling in the Acre Value system, doing some of these filters, etc. Let's switch back to the slide deck and we'll talk about how to get started. So for how to get started, if you want some just very basic info, and a couple of the tools that we were talking about, such as being able to search by just very basically seeing who the landowner is, also seeing their mailing address, etc. Um, you can certainly purchase a short-term subscription on acrevalue.com and start that way. For most of the tools that I have showed you today, such as being able to search by a radius, being able to filter by different land uses, certainly putting together the mailing lists, etc. Get in touch with myself or my sales team. We'll be the ones to work with you for a custom quote for the software. Or if you're interested in the mailing lists, we can certainly put together a custom quote that includes some of those mailing lists as well, all depending on your needs, your use case, etc. So with that said, I know that there were a few questions here, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of those in the Q&A session here. Alrighty, I am going to take a look here. Okay, this is a question from Lynn. Thank you for the question. Can you filter by sale date? Okay, that's another great question. So let's flip back over to the acre value parcel database here. So to look at sale date, interestingly, in our system, sales are held in a different location than the parcels themselves. So if you wanted to filter by sale date, here's what you would do. Instead of working in the parcel map, we're going to flip over to the sold land tab. And so this is records of ag land sales. They essentially show up as these flags here that you can see on my screen. Once you click on a flag, you'll see that the property that was sold does appear as a property boundary underneath it. And once you click on the flag, you'll also see more information about the sale, such as who is the buyer, when did the sale happen, etc. In order to filter for properties by sale date, this is what you're going to do. The filtering process is very much the same. The only difference is, of course, you're going to want to say, let's do the actual filters here together. So if this is my subject property, I want to be able to filter within, let's do 3 miles of my subject here. And then because I am in the, let's get rid of this property here. Because I'm in the sold land tab, we're going to see that the sales themselves pop up here instead of the parcels that fit our criteria, right? So these are the sale flags that pop up. And then from here, what I would do is one of two things. Let's first put a filter on by if we wanted to search for properties that sold recently, we can do that using our more filters option. That's going to take us to the filters menu here. And for sales specifically, you can filter by sale date. And so if I wanted to say things that sold, more than 3 years ago, that would be 2021. So any property that sold more than 3 years ago. On the flip side, you can put a range here as well. But once you have that range in, just go ahead and apply those filters, and you should see that a bunch of the sales do drop off, and the ones that are left are the ones that are more relevant for your search, right? So we've got a sale here, a property sold in 2017. We have a property sold here in 2018, 2020, 2018. Those are more than 3 years ago. And then likewise, if I wanted to do the reverse, I could say anything that sold within the past X years, excuse me, maybe like 1 or 2 years. And I would be able to drop that into this search date button here as well and be able to run that. So that's how I would go ahead and filter by sale date. Of course, once I run those filters, naturally you can open this up on the list view as well. And this will allow you to then take a look at the sales that have happened and then filter by the sale date as well, or at least sort them. So if you're curious about reaching out to people and you want to see the sale date of when the property sold, this is probably how I would do it. Sale date, sort it in the list view, and then here are your buyers and here are your sellers, and then you'd be able to search that database there, or reach out to the landowner this way. Okay, let's see here. Brad, thank you for the question. So what can you offer consultants? We create and restore lakes and streams. Yeah, fantastic. So in that case, really the question becomes, who are you trying to market to? I guess we'll want to define who is your target audience, right? Who are your consumers? Who are the people who are going to buy your service? If they are landowners, and we can define how the landowner target that you are trying to market to is different from other landowners in the area, then we can certainly help you get in touch with those landowners specifically. So, Brad, this may be a question that we want to develop a little bit further. What I'll do is I'll put up my contact info here at the end of the Q&A session. I'll try and find you on the registration as well, and then see if we can connect for a little bit of a separate conversation. It might be helpful there. In short, probably what I would assume based on your message about creating and restoring lakes and streams is that if you're looking to market to landowners who maybe would want their property to maybe they have a certain amount of like stream frontage or waterfront frontage on their property. That's another search filter that we could certainly do as well. So there's some custom things that we'd want to take a look at, and I think it's going to be a longer discussion. We should definitely take a look at that as well. Now, let's see here. Kendall, thanks for the message. It looks like you were having an issue and Don was able to help you out with it. Thanks for that as well, Don. Kendall, as well as the rest of the audience, if you do have any questions about the system and aren't seeing it work properly, you're getting an error, something like that, and you need some help, reach out to us at support@acrevalue.com. Email us there, and one of our support staff will be able to help you with that search or with the issue that you're coming across. Alrighty, and then water rights sources data would be excellent as well. Yeah, thank you for that comment, Brad. That's definitely part of the roadmap. Not super easy to grab things like water rights just because not all of it is publicly available, but we are trying and we are looking into ways to go and add that to the platform as well. So more to come on that side. Appreciate the comment and appreciate your interest in that as well. With that said, we're just about at time here. So what I will do is thank you for the questions, for the folks who asked them. For anyone who has other questions and would like them answered, maybe we didn't have time today, or you have something that's a little bit more specific to your use case, feel free to reach out to myself. My email is here up on screen, as well as my direct line via phone. I'm happy to work through the different use cases with you and see number one, what is your goal? And then number two, let's figure out how Acre Value can help solve that or achieve that goal. Again, if you do have any questions about product support and maybe you're getting an error, something like that, feel free to reach out to support@acrevalue.com via email as well. I'll leave this up on the screen here for maybe another minute or so, just to let everyone grab a screenshot or write down my contact information. But otherwise, thank you again for attending our webinar here. Hope this was very insightful for folks. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to reach out. If you're interested in any of the tools, the data that you've seen today, also reach out and I'll help you get set up with the right package that fits your needs. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon on another webinar. Thanks.